If you believe they put a man on the moon, then wait for what we have for you next.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I'm pushing an elephant up the stairs. That's right. Yeah.
We
Did I have it right?
You to keep going, right?
Oh.
We thought you were just belting it out. You're singing your truth.
It wasn't really Michael Stipe singing. It was Rick Hong. That's right. I used to be part of REM, but
There you go.
you know, eventually you have to retire every good band because it's the end of the world as we know it. All right. Hey, guys, you are watching Netflix News. Welcome back. I'm your host, Rick Hong, and you guys can find me on all social media at Rick Hong, RickhUNG, and I'm joined by...
I'm Steve Kaufman. You can find me on Twitter at Steve Kaufman. That is KAUFMANN.
And I'm Louisa Sharamatian. You can find me on Instagram at Nobody Reads Anymore TV and on Twitter at Nobody Reads TV.
Wait, so that's new.
So that's gonna be my upcoming website. So I told myself, okay, I want everything to be cohesive. So I changed it all to that, and it's just easier now.
I like it.
Yeah, because it's true. No one
simple.
reads anymore.
Yeah.
Yay!
That's true. I just tell like Siri or Alexa to just tell me all my information.
Yeah, but it's just different.
Either that or I just watch or listen to like AfterBuzz like podcasts and you know.
But podcasts and like also, I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of like I watch TV series like people read books.
Like religiously, like every
Like a
day
lot.
for an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah, like hours. Or like sometimes I picked up a series recently that I was like, nope, not putting this down, and then just finished the whole series.
But that's the whole point. How reading is such a dying art now.
I agree.
And there's so much vital tools in words and letters. When you consume it, when you read, we need to bring it back. So, I mean, I love audio too, like when I'm driving, you know, listening to different things, but it's just a form of art that has to come back. So that's why I'm here.
You're not wrong.
Hey guys, all right, so
Back to Netflix.
you're noticing there's something different about this panel. Last week when we were here, we talked about how the show How I Met Your Mother, the series, is leaving this week on Netflix, and Amy Cassandra and Ashley Cheney were so distraught that they couldn't come to the panel this week because they had to be home and finish up, bleed their eyes out to see what happens at the end of it.
They really didn't know, did they?
I don't think so.
We were really kind of like walking on eggshells with them about the finale of that show. I'm curious when they do get back, they can let us know what they thought of that finale.
But if you guys want to follow them, you can follow them at Amy Cassandra TV and Ashley on Camera. So, but they'll be back. They'll be back next week. So, hey, there you go.
Yeah.
But that's why they're not here. But we got Louisa to fill in instead.
I'm so happy to be back. Thank you so much.
And speaking of, by the way, so Louisa had such a good time when she was on our show 2 weeks ago that she already started emailing me and saying, hey, you know what's coming out on Netflix? Jim and Andy, which is basically a... Louisa, you tell me. What is it?
So Andy Kaufman is known to be a very fun comedian, but someone who really is between real and unrealistic life. And Jim Carrey played him in Man on the Moon in the 90s.
Hence the REM song.
Yes, and it's such a controversial role, and Universal held a lot of those behind-the-scenes footage of Jim Carrey acting so bizarre and crazy. And finally, they have released it into a documentary called Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond. And I'm just so excited because I haven't seen the movie yet. So a friend of mine said, make sure to watch Man on the Moon first, and then get an idea of who Andy Kaufman actually is, because he has a quote that I want to share.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That just really kind of explains who he was as a man. And it goes like, I am not a comic. I have never told the joke. The comedian's promise is that he will go out there and make you laugh with him. My only promise is that I will try to entertain you as best I can. That's just beautiful. So now I want to get to know who this man is, and hopefully Jim Carrey will deliver.
I'll send you some links outside
Yay!
of Man on the Moon. I have
Great.
some links for you
Oh,
that
yeah?
really.
So you're familiar.
I'm very familiar.
with his
Oh,
work.
Yes.
and we're gonna get into that.
Okay,
But
good.
first, we want to show you guys the trailer for what's dropping on Friday.
How would you start this movie?
Oh, I love that.
Jim Carrey.
I'm Jim Carrey, and how are you this evening? Alrighty then.
Finding out you have something special and it gets a reaction. That's how I got attention and love.
In 1999, Jim Carrey portrayed his idol, Andy Kaufman, in the film Man on the
Andy
Moon.
Kaufman came in to turn reality on its head and not stop when the camera stopped.
Andy Kaufman cared
He made
less
up so
about
many
making his
other
audience
characters,
laugh
right?
than keeping them confused.
Well, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Steve and I are going to have a
Yeah,
fun
yeah,
time
yeah.
talking about this.
The part. I was looking at the ocean, and that's the moment when Andy came back to make his movie.
I love this.
What
song.
happened
Netflix
after
original
was
documentary.
out of my control.
Andy, that's enough. Perfect.
I don't like it. I want to do one more.
Imagine how hard
Andy
it was
felt
working
it
with
was
him.
necessary to stay in the character.
He's exactly the way Andy was.
It's totally surreal.
And this crazy melodrama started happening all over the place.
Yep, with him.
Jimmy said they came down hard. Who's they? Universal didn't want the footage we took behind the scenes to surface so that people wouldn't think I was an asshole.
Yep.
Give me a chance to make a movie.
I don't need to make a movie. I don't need to make a movie.
I was thinking, how far should I take this?
Sound check. Sound check.
I'm Bob Zamudo.
Working.
How far would Andy take it?
You're going to have people that are going to sue this production for mental stress.
I'm sure they did.
When the movie was over, I couldn't remember who I was anymore. So you step through the door not knowing what's on the other side. And what's on the other side is everything. I know him as well as I can know him. But who do you know? Even when they're right in front of you.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that's amazing. So if you guys know, about a month back, you know, we're After Buzz TV hosts. We watch people do interviews, red carpets. That's what we do here as well. And the most amazing thing that somebody posted on the internet was Jim Carrey at a fashion red carpet, and he acted so bizarre.
With Kat Sadler from E! News.
Yes, but I think the reason he was doing it is because he was kind of like foreshadowing the documentary that was going to drop. I don't think he was really like.
It was very bizarre because he's like, why are we here? Why are any of us here?
And red carpets are really
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
like, if
yeah.
you
They're
do more than,
tough.
if you
They're-
do more
yes,
than 4 red
that's
carpets
true.
on either side, you're like, what even is this?
That's true.
Like, you're gonna ask me the same 4 questions. I'm gonna give you the same 4 answers. It's just
why
like a junket.
It's true, and that's why I say on red carpets, people should ask celebrities what they're reading versus to what they're wearing all the time, right?
That's when I go to a carpet. No, when I go to a carpet, I try to get gossip, and I went to Ben Mendelsohn, Director Trane, and I said, hey man, you are being rumored to be the bad guy in Captain Marvel. Tell me. But if you guys want to know what the answer was, you gotta check it out on AfterBuzzTV.com red carpets.
Woo.
Nice plug, huh?
He'll pop
Very
a
nice
link in the
plug.
comments. This trailer looks amazing. This film
Yeah.
looks amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a couple different shots of the Jerry Lawler wrestling scenes, which up until a podcast Jerry Lawler was on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast.
Please,
I
hey
love
man,
Stone
by the way,
Cold.
if you're gonna refer to people, please refer to them by Jerry the King
Fair
Lawler.
enough. Sorry. Jerry the King of Memphis, Tennessee. Lawler. He was on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, and he tells a very detailed story that anyone who's interested should seek out, that essentially said they hired him to play himself. He comes in, and Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman absolutely wants to take a pile driver. And a pile driver, for those who don't know, is where Andy Kaufman would essentially have to bend over, put his legs between Jerry Lawler's legs, and then Jerry Lawler would have to pick him up and then drive his head into the mat, meaning
Painful. Why?
meaning the way to do it safely would be you would have to
How do you do
cushion
it?
you would have to cushion him through you would have to cushion him with just enough, like maybe a half a foot between their head and the mat,
Right.
and they're otherwise cushioned between your thighs. The insurance company got involved, the studio got involved, everyone got involved, and they said that Jim Carrey cannot take the stunt.
Right.
Mainly because Lawler had to do it, and Lawler, being a trained professional wrestler, would be the best to administer such a stunt.
Sure.
And they even said, even the best person to possibly administer a stunt told us there's like a 10 to 5%, maybe a 20%, given how experienced Jim Carrey would be, chance that he would get injured.
Right.
What happens is Jim Carrey, after all that, they have a stunt guy in place. After all that, tells Lawler to just do it. And then Lawler does it, gets fired from the movie.
Oh.
It's front page news. And then like Carrie hams it up and like
Oh my
like they
gosh.
get into a bit of a scuffle in front of like 1,000 extras. It's this great story. I hope there's footage of it, because ever since I've heard the story, I've wanted to hear footage. I've wanted to see footage.
So Andy was a wrestler as well.
Yes, he was.
Oh my gosh.
He
okay.
and the movie Man
Andy
on the Moon.
Kaufman?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. I mean,
He
Like
was.
yeah, go ahead. 'cause
He was
I
a
think
trained professional wrestler.
Okay.
He wrestled on Saturday Night Live and all up and
Yeah.
down up and down the Mid South.
Okay.
wait, are you talking about
Wrestling
Andy
with
Kaufman
Jer-
or Jerry Lawler?
Andy Kaufman.
Okay.
Jerry Lawler was
Yeah.
definitely a wrestler.
Okay.
He's the king of Memphis, Tennessee. He is the.
Wow.
I would argue
Not to be
the-
confused with Harley Race,
Of course not.
who dubbed himself the king, but
Or not to be confused with Elvis,
Right.
who's from Memphis. But
Right.
like, where was I? I was saying
How
that
he-
like Andy Kaufman is a
yeah.
trained wrestler. He would be on anywhere from SNL to Memphis Wrestling, trying to challenge women. He was the intergender champion. And Men on the Moon actually doesn't do a great job covering the extent to which he had a huge feud with Jerry Lawler for years upon years. Like they cover like 2 matches and then obviously the David Letterman slap. But like years in there, like I said, I'm sending you a link. There's a
Yeah,
link.
you have
Yeah,
to.
it's
I
great.
will-
It's
There's
great.
a link of just that.
that
Oh,
story,
wow.
that storyline that they created was awesome.
And like not only that, but the movie doesn't reveal the truth about that. Like it was Lawler's autobiography, which was only a couple years before the Milos Forman movie.
Milos Forman.
Milos, sorry, that we actually learned the truth about that slap. Up until then, we thought
Really?
completely different things about it. And because you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to say anything.
Don't say anything.
So the unfortunate thing is, the movie Man on the Moon is not available on Netflix, or maybe they'll.
DVD only. So
It's
if
available
you
on
have
if you
that-
have the disc
Yeah, if
function.
you have, yeah.
But I mean,
Who does
clearly
know?
that documentary looked
We don't
awesome.
have that. Yeah, it did. Oh yeah.
And I'm sure if they were capable of putting it on Netflix, it would be on there.
Right.
Specifically if this documentary is also on there, they want to keep you.
There's so many other stuff dropping that day, right? So we just
There's a
talked
lot
about
dropping that day.
How are we gonna watch everything on that day?
Yeah.
You've until that day, until the end of time. Really,
time management
We're
skills.
fine.
I mean, so another thing that's coming out is, and I'm only going to touch on it because we've already talked about it, and there is going to be an after show. I'll put it in the description when the after show is going to be happening, but The Punisher,
So
which
excited.
we showed the trailer. And I saw somewhere really briefly, somebody ranked it. I mean, granted, everybody has a different ranking system. They actually ranked it Jessica Jones first, then The Punisher next, in terms of all the different Netflix Marvel series.
I don't buy that ranking because I put Luke Cage first. So
Luke Cage?
I put Luke Cage first. Sorry.
No,
So
it's all yours. This is like you.
Interesting.
so that's
And
where
don't get
I
me
rank
wrong,
it.
I liked Luke Cage though too, so I don't necessarily argue that point. I'd have to like really kind of break down
I
the
put
two.
it Luke
but
Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones. Anything else? Defenders, Iron Fist.
Yeah, but so here's the thing: if you're not busy trying to get through the series of The Punisher, you're not busy enough to trying to watch the documentary that we just showed you. There also is another movie called Mudbound, which was a big hit at the Sundance Film Festival, and it's probably going to be up for Oscar nominations. That's what I believe. The great thing about Mudbound is it's done by a company called Macro, and Macro is all about multicultural diversity. Content, and this is one of their films that they've done. And we're gonna play you the trailer for this right now.
This is part and parcel of country life. I learned how to stitch up a bleeding wound, load and fire a shotgun.
Carey
My
Mulligan,
hands
great.
did these things, but I was never easy in my mind.
Way down in the water.
I held his heartbeat in my hand.
Way down in the hole.
All that time he was gone, I only prayed for him.
Over there, I was a liberator. People lined up in the streets waiting for us.
Sometimes I actually miss it.
Yeah, me
Garrett
too.
Hedlund.
Coming back from the fire.
Rare, striking, densely packed drama of the American
That was
South.
the only way to get up from under their foot.
Crawling back from the dirt.
I don't want you working for them.
I won't be
looks
working for
good,
them.
wow.
I'll be working for us.
Coming back from the fire and up and
Devastating and
Come
brilliant.
back and find they hadn't changed a bit.
I don't know what they let you do over there, but you in Mississippi.
Oh, Jonathan Banks, love him.
Jamie saw in a different way.
Oh, where is
And when
he?
his eyes were on
Oh my
me,
God.
I felt like I was no longer invisible.
Garrett Hedlund.
You sniffing after him. Maybe Henry is too thick to notice, but I ain't.
You better open your eyes, big brother. You're so busy worrying about yourself and your farm, you can't even see your own wife is miserable.
Jason Isaacs.
Work this land all they life.
Not used to walking away from a fight. Not no more.
This land that never would be theirs.
You don't need to go, Jamie.
I can't stay here.
They worked until they sweated.
You'll be okay.
They sweated until they bled. They bled until they died. Died clawing at the hard, brown back. That would never be theirs.
Powerful.
That's a good cast.
When I think of the farm, I think of mud. I dreamed in brown.
Way down in the water.
Mudbound. Oh yeah, that's on my list too.
So, yeah, you can see the macro logo in the left-hand side there. But the interesting thing about this, because we've talked about this, about how movies are being distributed. You know, some things are going straight up to Netflix. This one's actually getting a limited release as well.
An Oscar qualifying release.
Exactly.
Because you can't just dump it on Netflix and qualify for an Oscar.
Not yet, unless they
is there
decide.
some kind of rule?
You have to,
Oh.
Like I've literally gone to things at the New Beverly that have been considered an Oscar qualifying screener, or like because you can't just dump it on Netflix and then send out a bunch of screeners and and it would fit under the Academy's rules. It has to air at a theater that meets their requirements.
And they don't do that with just a film like this.
Oh, absolutely.
They're notorious for doing it for a lot of different films where in the big cities they'll release a film just short, like right before maybe Christmas.
Yep.
Just a couple theaters here and there in the big cities. And then the wide release is probably like not till like January, but it's so that they're in Oscar contention.
Yep.
And for this movie,
and it's also because Oscar movie has become a genre of film now that The Artist is the most notable example that it played this time the year The Artist came out.
Right.
It played literally in LA, New York, and like maybe 2 other cities across like 20 screens. And then it got a Golden Globe nomination, and then it got more screens, and then it got an Oscar nomination, and then it got more screens, and then it won Best Picture, and then it had all the screens. That's part of a release schedule.
But why don't they just release it worldwide all of a sudden? Like, why does it have to be just?
Because people won't care unless it wins the Oscar or
and
gets nominated.
No,
or
and then sometimes it's a timing issue. Like maybe on Christmas Day there's a more mainstream movie that they might release or something they're going up against, so they don't want to do it that way. There's always a strategy behind releasing the films. Like this movie is going to be released in Atlanta, Boca Raton, Boston, Chicago, Houston, here in a couple different places in Los Angeles, Nashville, and a couple places in New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C.
While also streaming on Netflix at the exact same time, right?
Yes.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
I'm a nerd about like sports betting. This is on the list, pretty high up, considering that the list at this point is 50 movies of Best Picture contenders. It's on it's the bottom of the top. Like it's 18th or 17th of that list.
And here's something about Macro too, is that Macro also did Fences, the Denzel Washington movie, which won
Best Picture. Or not Best Picture, Best Actor.
Best Actress.
Yeah.
For Viola Davis.
Did Denzel not win that?
Denzel didn't.
That's right. They don't like.
She made that beautiful speech. Oh, I remember.
That's right.
I believe it's the Harriet Tubman speech.
I was very close to being perfect in my Oscar pool that year because I thought it would be Denzel.
I think a lot of people did, but yeah, Denzel. I think he's won Best Supporting for Glory, and then he won Best Actor for. No, he's won Best Supporting for Glory, Best Actor for The Hurricane. No, wait, he was nominated for The Hurricane. He won Best Actor for.
He was the
Training Day.
Possibly. No, you're right, because he didn't win for Malcolm X. The way to remember how someone won an Oscar is what was their best feat, and then a couple years later, what did they do? Because that's.
You just Google.
He was Malcolm X. Got nominated, didn't win, and then Training Day. Not discounting his performance in Training Day, but
like a decade or so later,
he won Best Actor for Training Day.
I mean, the problem with Malcolm X.
Training Day, and then he won Best Supporting for Glory.
Right.
Okay.
He was nominated for Fences, though.
Yeah, because here's the issue for really quick, just like Malcolm X or X, is because I think it just the time period wasn't right for him to have won. But in terms of the way the world was and everything as well, but a masterful performance.
Of course.
And you definitely should see it if you want to see Denzel at one of his best. I mean, he's awesome in everything, but
I'm never discounting Denzel. I'm more or less talking about how the Oscars, you don't always win an Oscar for your best performance, but sometimes you'll win an Oscar for your third or your fourth or your fifth best performance because they realize
Leo.
they screwed up.
Leo.
Because they realize they screwed up the time when it was your best
Yeah.
performance. Like that happens a
sense.
lot in the Oscars.
So I think it was like last week we talked about anime a little bit. We touched on anime a little bit, and I actually took time to watch Death Note, which is a live action based on an anime, and I loved it. I loved it. But something that's newsworthy that's coming out is Gerard Way, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, has a thing called the Umbrella Academy,
Yeah.
and it's being dropped as a live action series as well. And they just announced that Ellen Page is going to be in it.
That's
I'm
really
excited
great.
about this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about a man, I think, that saves babies who have special powers, something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know too
The
much.
story
but
follows the estranged members of a dysfunctional
Okay,
family of
yeah,
superheroes known as the Umbrella Academy. Luther,
Wow.
Diego, Allison, Vanya, Klaus, and Number 5, as they work together to solve their father's mysterious death while coming apart at the seams due to their divergent personalities and abilities.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, I'm watching. You know, I'm trying to keep up with what's being dropped in terms of kind of the anime. I'll eventually start turning, or we'll actually even probably bring someone in who has a bit more expertise on kind of the Netflix anime to kind of give us like a lowdown of how the quality is.
Yeah, like a true
yeah.
lowdown to let us know
That'd be
what's
a great
where.
insight for sure.
No, so Louisa, you have some stuff that you wanted to talk about this week.
So I'm excited to watch She's Gotta Have It, and it's based on Spike Lee's movie that came out in the 80s about a black woman who's living her life, you know, pro-career, dating, not settling down, and it's made into a series that drops on Thanksgiving, and it's with DeWanda Wise, who's an up-and-coming artist on Netflix. So I'm excited for that, and it's only one season for now. And the next thing I'm excited for is called Shot in the Dark. Did you see the trailer on that? It's basically about a news team and the whole series is only shot during the night because they just go after what kind of news they can get to sell to TV studios.
Yes.
And it just looked so good. Because I kind of want to expand my horizons on Netflix. I always do stand-ups and documentaries and shows, but this is like more like real life. So you've seen it? You've seen the trailer? Or?
I haven't seen the trailer, but I know I know
yeah.
that world. Years ago there was a documentary called Break His Camera, and it was about like a very notorious paparazzi. Nightcrawler was about that TMZ level. That TMZ level, like, get the worst
it's
of
intense.
people.
No, Nightcrawler was amazing.
Yes.
So that's that. And then Chasing Trane, we were looking at that
Yes.
too. Narrated by Denzel Washington. It's about John Coltrane, the famous jazz musician. So that's good. That's dropping. And there was one more. The stand-up I wanted to mention. Oh, How to Act Black. DeRay Davis. Or am I saying it right? DeRay or DeRay?
I think it's DeRay.
DeRay Davis.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that because, you know, I love my stand-ups. But I do want to mention, I told you I was going to watch Judah Friedman's, hold up, it's right over here.
America is the greatest country in the United States.
I started watching and halfway through I stopped. It was too much. It was so focused on politics, it took the funny away. So did any of you try to catch that or no?
I'm familiar with his work. That's you gotta want that. Like,
it was too much.
You're talking to somebody who's like a weekly Bill Maher listener, a weekly Pod Save America listener. Like you have to be in that. If you're looking for just funny, political comedy wouldn't like.
It was too much.
Some level of political comedy.
It's like, where are you from? Oh, okay. Okay, so what's the stats on your country, or like how many people are in jail in your city? Or it was too much. I don't know.
I think it's important that we don't know those things, but I don't know if a comment like I haven't seen the special. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he does a great job of making that both funny but poignant.
Got it.
And he's a very, very smart man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up stand-ups because I was actually last minute or earlier this week I was invited to to be in the audience for a Netflix special, stand-ups.
That's
and
fun.
I was there to see Gina Yashere, who her jokes are really funny. I'm not stealing. I'm regurgitating how her jokes kind of go, but she has the Idris Elba English accent. And so she makes jokes that people are like, that she's like a female Idris Elba in terms of the way, like kind of her persona and everything. But it was great. It was great to actually just sit in the audience and see a taping. And there were actually 2 tapings for the 3 comics that they had. And I'm sure it's going to be released at some point in 2018.
That's fun.
Yeah, so but it's hard to know when they're taping that since they're taping for Netflix, you're kind of bound to sit there for like an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
And like, they're giving you drinks too. So
but TV tapings in general are very much.
yeah, so you can't really get up and like go to the bathroom and see the comedians or someone's making jokes. And then sometimes there's always too, like when you're doing a taping, there's a little bit of magic that like they have got like do a retake here a little bit in there
to get better laughs and stuff.
Or just angles, TV angles, like just kind of camera angles if they want like a different angle of.
Totally.
But great set of comics. There were like 3 comics, and I was there to see Gina, and she was awesome. So, but so I think it's funny that you were bringing up. At some point in time, 2018, when this thing comes out, I'm gonna talk about it and say, hey, so you can see my face. Maybe not.
I actually have 4 picks. I like to pick some picks in the room.
Go for it.
So I came up with some picks. I have 2 docu-series. One is called 5 Came Back, which caused a huge stir around January. It's about 5 different It's about 5 different filmmakers, specifically talking about what they've done for World War II filmmaking.
Oh, nice.
Where they did World War II filmmaking, and they're paired with modern filmmakers. Each episode is about one of those filmmakers. The other docu-series is Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States. I believe it was on Showtime years ago. I know some of you, Oliver Stone, oh my god, conspiracy theories. It's actually straight up history textbooks, but told in a very digestible way. Starting from the very top. Also,
I have that in my queue.
It's really good. Also, documentary-wise, Nobody Speak, Trials of the Free Press. It's the one with Hulk Hogan on the title because we were talking about pro wrestling. It pretty much shows you the Gawker Hulk Hogan trial.
Nice.
A trial you did not know there were 2 sides to. There were 2 sides. And the Hogan side wasn't necessarily right. There was all kind of a gradation, but it really gets into the idea of what is a free press. And part of what a free press means is that Gawker gets to be terrible. And to wash your mouth out of all of that, 42, I cannot recommend 42 enough. Harrison
Wait, 42,
Ford.
it's in
I'm gonna add those to my list right now.
Yes.
Based on Jackie Robinson?
Yep. Chadwick Boseman, Harrison Ford. It's just
just add it.
Just Jackie Robinson, just a good regular biopic. Sports biopic.
You recommend it or you don't recommend it?
I recommend
He
it.
does.
No, I wouldn't
This
recommend it.
is top 5. Like,
Yeah, like
wants,
that. That's just a couple picks I'm throwing out there.
Awesome.
These are all things I've seen, and I'm curating a list to just kind of say.
No, coincidentally, the thing about 42 is that is also Chadwick Boseman is also the future, which is coming out soon. Black Panther. So that's great. That's great. I mean, he's a really good actor. I think it's funny that he plays. I mean, he's done Jackie Robinson. I think he's done James Brown.
Yep.
Actually,
I never saw that. That one looked amazing.
Well, we'll have to see if it drops.
I always loved that James Brown story. That they needed him to play on local television in, don't quote me on which city, because they needed riots to not continue to happen.
Oh, interesting.
It's a story I've always enjoyed. But yeah, those are my picks, guys.
There's also a doc on James Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Dynamite, The Rise of James Brown. That's actually on my list to watch. So that was released too on Netflix. So.
Wait, hey, how did you pronounce DeRay? DeRay?
I said DeRay.
Okay, you know what?
I hope I said it right. Sorry.
So no, I love this. Saluminati Jones Jr. Thank you for watching. Actually said, yeah, she had it right the first time on DeRay.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah, on DeRay. So and then he's a Nick Cannon Wild and Out alum.
Oh,
I love Wild and Out.
That's where I know him from. Okay, because I would always watch Nick Cannon on that show. Oh, perfect.
So thank you for watching. Thank you for thank you for being in the chat and letting us know that.
Also, one last pick, The Founder. A lot of people didn't get to see The Founder this time last year when it was supposed to be a part of award season, and then it just kind of wasn't.
Oh,
yes,
man.
Michael Keaton.
Thank you for reminding
Michael
me
Keaton
all
is
this,
so
you
good.
guys. I'm just a huge.
I loved The Founder, and here's the problem with The Founder: it makes you hungry for McDonald's.
That's not a terrible thing.
Well, if you're gonna splurge that day, I mean, watch it hungry. Go get your McDonald's, but don't watch it if you're not hungry. I don't know, because I literally my girlfriend and I think we watched it at night, and it was way after dinner, and we both just kind of sat there and were like, I want McDonald's.
What's funny is The Founder made me hungry for In-N-Out. Because the type of food they were making in The Founder is actually what you can get in In-N-Out, where it tastes like food.
Right.
But I'll put away my soapbox towards processed food.
One more doc I do want to add because it's dropping this month as well. It's called It's Not Yet Dark, and it's about a strong-willed Irish filmmaker impaired by ALS syndrome. directs his first feature film with eye gaze technology as his only means of communication. So that drops mid-November. Actually, wait, it already dropped. So it's already on
out there.
Netflix. Yeah, so that's on my list. I want to watch that too, to get his perspective on that as well. So
I dig it.
yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it for tonight. Next week, Amy Cassandra shall be back. Ashley Cheney shall be back. Louisa probably might be here again.
Yay!
I won't be here, so you got to tune in to see who's going to lead this panel. But Louisa, where can everybody find you?
So on Twitter, you all can find me at Nobody Reads TV, and on Instagram at Nobody Reads Anymore TV.
Steve?
I'm Steve Kaufman. You can find me on Twitter almost exclusively at Steve Kaufman. That is KAUFMANN. You can also go to thesoberyear.com. That's a vlog I'm doing about being sober.
And I'm Rick Hong. You guys can find me on all social media at Rick Hong, RICKHONG. And you can find us here every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
I punish the guilty. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.